You have your Feminist for Life t-shirt on.
I do.
I have my celebratory gin and tonic because this is a day for celebrating.
Yes, it is.
Because we found out today that the Roe v. Wade law has been overturned by the Supreme Court.
Correct.
And we have been waiting for this for a very, very, very long time. And this is my friend Carolyn Gargaro Wilkins. She added another name on there long after we were working together. But back in the day, when we were both young, we ran a website together called Right Girl, and we made a lot of pro-life arguments on that website. And our big thing, our big focus in our pro-life argumentation was to avoid any religious arguments. And we only wanted to make legal arguments, logical arguments, just anything but religious, although it's not that we're anti-religious people at all. We're both very spiritual and we're both Christians. And, that's a great argument to make, but everyone makes that argument. We wanted to make different arguments explaining why the pro-life platform made more sense, at least to us, in our view. Going back, oh gosh, when were we doing this, Carolyn? Sometime in the 90s.
We started it in 1997, I think.
Okay.
We officially started the website. You might have contacted me in 1996, but I feel like we had on the website serving your pro-life needs since 1997.
One of the arguments that that I know you were making back then was that this was not constitutionally a constitutional law. It was not constitutionally rational.
You're absolutely right, Stephanie. And while it was made a constitutional right in 1973, I really believe the 7 men on the Supreme Court made an egregious error in judgment, because if you look back at how they rationalized the right to privacy in the Constitution and went around like just certain other laws, it was so ridiculous, to make a very brief point about it. But that being said, it's not a constitutional right. If someone is pro-choice, okay, I disagree with you, but making it a constitutional right, it just makes no sense if you really take time to look at the Constitution.
So I'm very curious to know your reaction about what they said today, at least so far as you understand how the decision came down. What are your reactions?
My reaction? Well, of course, my reaction immediately was, I actually couldn't believe it. I'm like, I never in my lifetime I would ever see that Roe v. Wade was overturned, not because I didn't think it should be, but I thought that the masses would not understand how non-constitutional the arguments were. And all it gave us was people was the constitutional right to an abortion. It's not in the Constitution. You can try and do backflips and do front flips and try to explain that it is in there, and it's not. So that being said, I'm very happy because I never thought that the Supreme Court would actually look at it in a logical manner, because in 1973, they threw it under the bus. They threw constitutional arguments under the bus. So that was my first reaction. It was like shock and of course happiness, but then also a newfound idea that like, this is not like, oh, well, that's it, Roe v. Wade's overturned. We have to keep telling people, because abortion is going to be legal, that is not good for you to have that. It's not human. It's not going to give you more rights by having an abortion. The tragic situations that put people in a situation where they need an abortion, it's horrible. And people like you and I feel for that. We are not callous people who are like, well, we don't care now. But now that it's not a constitutional right, let's make sure that I thought for myself, like, make sure that I don't stop like saying something, and because it's not like it's going to end after Roe v. Wade, which a lot of people think abortion's banned. It's not banned. It's just not protected under the Constitution.
And it's a states' rights issue now, which it always should have been.
Yes, I agree.
And so each state will have to decide for itself.
People are saying that, oh, it's healthcare. Well, really, you think I don't want healthcare for women? Of course, but killing and I will not say murder. So you could put this in because murder is a legal term. People say murder. I definitely disagree with that because it's not murder, because murder is legal. And abortion is currently, and still after Roe, is legal. It is what we feel is the unjust killing of a human. And I cannot say that that is healthcare.
We had a lot of fun, didn't we, Carolyn?
You-
We had this website. Excuse the traffic. We had a website.
Well, there was no Facebook,
Right, exactly. And because our website was growing, you actually ended up going out into the world and representing us on television, on MSNBC, and other panel shows like that, which was really cool.
I did. And sadly, it was not for the abortion issue. They wanted me for other political issues, which that you and I also agreed with. But however, I always wanted to go on for the abortion issue, but I never got to go on TV for that. It helped me grow the website so much that yes, we were contacted and we're on TV. And I think they wanted you on TV too. But
yeah, that didn't happen, but that's fine. And I'm way out here in Denver. You're on the East Coast, and that was better for you. I did try to do, I think it was a radio interview one time, and I got totally ambushed by the radio host. And so I decided maybe this isn't for me. And it really did take me a long time to want to get out in front of people again after that ambush, because this was a radio host that I thought agreed with our position and was happy to have me on. And then I get on his show and he starts talking about something else, and all of his views immediately had changed. And it was such an unpleasant experience that I kind of kept to myself for the next 15 years.
That makes sense. I mean, why would you want to go back on media when they're ambushing you? Like they tell you something, you come on like that. I would do the same thing. I mean,
so I finally have put this channel together, and I'm trying to put out, some of my work this way, but this was definitely a big part of my work back in the day. And so I definitely wanted to celebrate that today with you, with nobody else but you, of course, my partner in Right Girl.
Yes, I think that we both, the fact that I saw people contacting me about Right Girl, and people I'll get an email like, you guys made a big difference in our life. And while we didn't continue Right Girl, while the website is still a website, I think that we did a good part in maybe trying to convince people, as far as also some of the people who started making the abortion argument from a non-religious standpoint. Again, like you said, a religious argument is fine. And I totally agree with that. But we came at it from another perspective. Like now it's more common to say human rights, people's lives. I mean, it's not about religion. It's not about controlling women. It's about basic human rights. And if you can take the rights away from innocent of us, then what's going to happen? Yeah.
And I'm a woman. I do not want to be controlled. I'm a libertarian leaning anarchist. Maybe not all the way there. Maybe so. It's hard to say, but I don't want to be controlled ever. That's what I always ask, am I being detained? Don't tell me what to do. However, I do not want to claim any right over another human being. I just don't want to do it. And it's not because of religious reasons. It's not even because of legal reasons. I think it's just because of moral reasons and logical reasons.
Yep.
And that's what makes sense to me. I want very much to preserve my rights, and I want to keep you out of my bedroom and my home and wherever else you might think that you need to come in and control me. But I do not want to impinge on anyone else's right. And that is what we forget, not we. That is what the world has forgotten. And yeah, I certainly don't want to see any women in a situation where giving birth is going to be so detrimental to them, either physically or financially or what, that they would look at this as an alternative. But for people like that, I would just plead with fellow members of society that we find another way to help them that does not include killing a human being. There,
Exactly.
there are many ways that we can help our fellow human beings without killing a few of them in the process.
Exactly. And what is so sad is that so many women who are doing such a great job fighting for women's rights are still saying that killing your offspring is like the only way that we can be free. And I just can't wrap my mind around that. I mean, I understand before we had ultrasounds and other things, I can see that people didn't understand that there was a person growing inside you, a human being, call it whatever you want. You don't have to call it a fetus if you want. I don't care what the name is a person with DNA that is, the DNA doesn't change. It's a human being. And now that we all know this, the fact that our rights are dependent on us killing them, a woman's rights are dependent on us killing the humans inside of us, again, just does not seem logical to me.
No, it's not. It's a twisting of logic. And the law is famous for doing that.
No.
So I am just so happy to see that we have finally corrected one of these legal twists that was allowed to stand for way too long.
Way too long. I'm hoping that people will like actually get educated and realize that Roe v. Wade is like, stopping Roe v. Wade doesn't ban abortion. I mean, it doesn't. So I would also implore to our pro-life people not to say, oh, well, now Roe v. Wade's gone. No, it's okay. It is gone, but the people are still going to get abortions. It's still going to be legal. We have to definitely change people's mindset on this. It's just, I mean, the mindset that that women's rights are connected with being able to kill your own child.
It's just great talking to you about this stuff again. My gosh, we used to talk about this for hours and go on, and then we'd write about it for hours.
We're like, what are people thinking? Like, we just don't get it. And we are still on the same page. And you being very, very intellectual and very, I say that because people tend to think that pro-life women are all like dumb people. I will admit that you're smarter than I am, I think, but I'm not an idiot either. But I mean, so we're not being illogical. I understand people can disagree with us on this. And because if we all thought the same, it wouldn't make sense. But we're not all like dumb women who are like, yeah, I don't want my rights.
We do need to have the conversation, and we have something to say about it and always have. And it's time that people start to realize that our side of the argument is not lacking, which I believe is partly one of the reasons why we are seeing today what we saw, which is the overturn of Roe v. Wade.
And hopefully going forward, we can convince people that it's just not, women need more options. Women don't need to feel like this is their only option. Like, how free are women if this is your only option? And people bring up, oh, well, if your baby's dead in the womb, or your fetus, or whatever you want to call whatever is growing inside your body, if the fetus or whatever is dead, that's not an abortion. They're saying, well, they're going to make people like carry dead babies to term. And then they go on say, like, we are not going to have interracial marriage because of this, which like, how did you get from Roe v. Wade to interracial marriage? I support interracial marriage. I support gay marriage. This has nothing to do with that. This has to do with the human rights of killing somebody.
No, I totally hear you. And, you know, that's part of the reason why I think that we stopped making this argument back when we did. We had done all we could. And both you and I believed that this was an unwinnable battle and that we were just doing it on principle, making our arguments on principle just to have them on record. Never did I think that this day would actually come. Even once the rumors started flying, I still didn't think.
Oh, I didn't. I was like, wow, I'm surprised that there actually is this rumor, but I definitely did not. I wasn't like, oh yeah, I really thought it was not going to come forth and happen. I And if it didn't, I'm like, that's what I expected. I was very shocked today. Very, very shocked.
Me too.
Happily shocked, but still shocked nonetheless, because I just thought that all rational arguments had gone out the window.
Mhm.
And there's no hope for this happening. So let's just go forward and see what we can do aside from overturning Roe v. Wade. So, but this is a good step in the right direction.
It is. It is. And it's, you know what, we will take the celebrations when we can get them. And today is one of them. So cheers.
But I mean, a little bit of happiness is warranted for those who believe that people for how many years have been denied their constitutional right to life.
Mhm.
I put that their constitutional right to life is now back intact. And now let's hope that we can convince other people, like maybe not to choose to abort. But again, the constitutional right to people's lives, despite their age or place of residence, is now back intact.
And when I first heard about it, I'm not an emotional person normally. I really am not. I am pretty mild-mannered, I would say. And it made me cry. And not from a religious perspective, in the sense that I can fully view and accept that some people would have that reaction, that this is a beautiful affirmation of life in a religious sense. That was not what made me cry. What made me cry was that finally something has happened in the public sphere based on logic and constitutional precedent. And I was so dumbfounded by it that I couldn't speak, and I started to cry. So
I agree.
yeah, so I think it's a good day for that reason. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out moving forward.
If you look at Roe v. Wade from a legal standpoint, it makes absolutely no sense. I mean, you could be pro-choice and agree that Roe v. Wade is not a legally valid argument. You can be pro-choice and agree that you have the right to have an abortion. Well, I disagree with that, but it's not in the Constitution.
Right, right. And so now maybe we can move forward and have different conversations about this that are more relevant to the issue than what we were having before. So that's awesome.
Instead of just like, well, it's a constitutional right, forget it. Like, it's actually not.
Well, thank you for being with me today, Carolyn. It was wonderful to see you.
Tagging me in your video, and I'm very happy that we got to chat. I really am.
Me too.
I'm saying like it's so generic, but you know I am.
Yes.
Okay.
So a historic day, everyone. And we were all here to witness it and to live through it.
Yep.
So we'll talk again soon.
Yes, we definitely will. Thank you, Stephanie, for setting this up.
Yes,
Thank
thank you for being with me.
Okay.